Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. It is February. Can you guys believe it? Oh, February already. Everything is up. Let's just give everyone a few minutes to jump in here because I was actually on time, which I know is weird. Let's make sure. Okay, cool. I'm live over here. All right, you guys can hear me? Great. As you guys log in, let me know you're here. Say hey. Let me get my screens all good to go. For those of you, I'll just give my disclaimer for those of you that are catching this on replay. If you're catching this on replay and you guys have your own questions that you want to ask, the best way to do that, oops, I made my screen too big. There we go. The best way to do that is to join our Money, Tax, and Finance for Small Business Owners group. Each week not each week, each time we have a live, there will be an event there. And if you have questions, go ahead and post them on that event. And then I check that before we go live. And if there's any questions sitting out there, then I make sure to try and answer those on these lives. So that's for those of you that are watching this on replay. That goes for any of you watching live that ever can't catch it. If you ever can't catch it live, you guys can always rewatch it in the Money, Tax, and Finance group, as well as on our YouTube channel and in our business page. Hey, Wendy, how are you? Long time no see. Just going to give everyone a few more moments to jump in. It is, how cold is it? It was -6 when I woke up this morning. So it is chilly here in Colorado. It's been a weird January. Family got hit by COVID earlier this, or I guess not earlier this month, last month. It's February. We just said that. So just trying to catch up from that. We hired someone on our team at BP, Brew Beers and Associates. So we're training her, and that's been awesome. So growing our team and just trying to make things, go smoother this tax season. Just trying to learn to live this new norm, kind of thing. So, all right. For those of you that may be new here, so these sessions, mostly questions for you guys. So if you have questions, please post them in the chat. I can see everything. New tax season, 2021, doing those tax returns or starting to do those now. So if you guys have questions, definitely post those there. Otherwise, I'll always share some updates with you guys as well, which there really aren't many updates right now. And let's just go ahead and jump into that. So we were waiting for the Build Back Better plan to pass because we kind of thought, it looked like it was going to pass before year end, and that would have changed tax season. It never passed. They're still figuring it out. So that is not anything we have to deal with right now. So in 2021, you guys, the biggest thing for my business owners out there, the biggest things that you want to make sure you're considering when you're starting to do your 2021 tax returns, you're starting to think about that 2021 tax prep. Remember, the biggest thing I've heard about, or the biggest change, this one-time thing, is the 100% meals deductions for meals bought at restaurants or eating establishments. So normally our meals are, excuse me, guys, normally our meals are limited to 50%. And in 2021 and in 2022 as well, if you bought your employee meals or your team meals, whatever, your client meals, anything, any sort of business meals that are bought at an establishment are going to be 100% deductible. And obviously the reason for that being they're trying to encourage us to get back out there, go out to eat, and put back into the economy. So that was the biggest thing there. Also, for my business owners in 2021, if you got a PPP loan, all right, and it got forgiven, or you got a PPP loan at all in 2021, that's going to be something that you want to make sure you take into consideration when you're filing your tax return, or you're having your tax preparer file your return, is making sure you're having that conversation about your PPP loan. If you got any ERTC, that employee retention credit, all right, if you got that money, that's going to be something that you're going to want to talk to your tax preparer about, or make sure it gets recorded properly, on your tax return. All right, so we had a lot of things going on in 2021 that we want to make sure that we are handling correctly on our 2021 tax returns on that business side of things. There are a lot of things on the personal side. And I know a lot of you guys are business owners and you're really here for those business updates. But let's talk a few things. There were a lot of big personal events that came up, right? So let's talk these child tax credits and that third and final economic impact payment. All right, if you guys remember, there were two that we dealt with in 2020. One that you got mid-year, one that either came at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. The important thing to remember on that even if you got it in January of 2021, it was dealt with on your 2020 return. Okay, that is not one we're dealing with. The one where the economic impact payment that affects your 2021 return was that $1,400 per person recovery rebate credit that was received, I think, by a lot of people in April. Okay, they did just finish issuing these payments, so who knows when you actually got it. They will be issuing a form for this, you guys. Both the third economic impact payment that you received in 2021 and those advanced child tax credits, both of those are basically what those were prepayments of a 2021 tax credit that you will reconcile on your tax return. All right, and they are or did send forms out for this. All right, for your, let me make sure I get the numbers right. The child tax credit, you're going to get a letter 6419. Okay, 6419 is going to be the letter that you get that shows the total amount of advanced child tax credit payments that you received in 2021. Hold on to that. We'll circle back around and talk about the importance of making sure you get these credit figures correct. All right, so one more time, the letter 6419 that you hopefully already got. They're supposed to already send them out in January, but will give you the total amount of advanced child tax credit payments that you received in 2021. All right. As for the economic impact payment, so that $1,400 per person, also called the recovery rebate credit, that is going to be form. I wrote it down and then I erased it. I have like 14 tabs open. So child tax credit. There it is. Letter 6475. Letter 6475 is going to be that reporting that number or the amount you received for that third economic impact payment or that recovery rebate credit. Both of these guys are super important. In 2020, it was a hot mess. They sent these weird looking letters out and people didn't keep them because they didn't look like official, tax documents. And we had a lot of taxpayers, not just us, like the country had a lot of taxpayers guessing on those amounts, trying to remember how much they got, getting it wrong. And they've flat out said this, you guys, that you want to make sure those credit numbers are correct. All right. Meaning if you're trying to get more on your return, right? So maybe you didn't get the full economic impact payment that you qualified for the advanced child tax credit, right? That is a tax credit that you qualify for when you file your 1040. They made advanced credit payments of up to half of your total amount. Okay. If those numbers that you've put on your 1040, on your 2021 1040, don't match their records, it's going to delay your refund. Okay. It's going to delay your refund. So make sure that you take the numbers that are on those letters 6419 for the advanced child tax credit and the letter 6475 for that third economic payment, impact payment. Make sure those numbers are entered correctly onto your 2021 tax return by you or your tax preparer. Because if they're not, it could delay that processing of your return or of your refund. All right. One more quick thing before I get to Wendy's question. The IRS is really trying to move more toward an online presence and online assistance, you guys. They it's not new, but they're fixing it and they're updating it and making it better. you have an IRS online account. And I put the link up in the comments or down, to set up your online account. And I highly, highly recommend everybody does this. All right. I am going to ask all of my clients to do it because a lot of the questions, the inquiries that you're going to have are going to be able to be answered via this online account. Okay. You're going to be able to access tax records, make and view your tax payments, view a balance, right? If you have an amount that you owe, you can see what's owed. You can create payment plans. You can authorize your tax preparer, whoever that is, whether it's me or someone else, to authorize, them to view your account. All right. So this is going to be a great tool to use, you guys. So I highly recommend you set this up as soon as possible. And this will be your first line of where do I, I'm missing my refund. I don't know the process of, where my return is, or any of those questions, go here first. Because if any of you have had to deal with the IRS over the last year and a half via the phone, it's a hot mess. Okay. It is a very hot mess. And trying to get a hold of them it's chaos, it's crazy, and it's frustrating. So this tool will hopefully help a lot of people avoid the phone altogether and be able to get the questions you need answered. One of those being, I know that there are some of you out there that still have not gotten your 2020 tax refund. I know it. And I have people that filed theirs relatively early. Okay. Like it's not like they just filed it in October or September of last year. They filed it like early last summer and still have not gotten them. The IRS is just saying, use this tool to keep up, to make sure that they've processed your return and they're on, that they are working on it. That's pretty much all you got. DV, sorry if you already answered this as I got it. What is the repayment protection that they list on the 6419 letter about? Okay, that is a great question. And if I remember correctly, though, okay, so you guys, what they're talking about with the 64, so the form 6475, and we did mention that, we did talk about that. That's all we've talked about, DV, is those third economic payment impact payment letters. And I actually haven't read it, but that payment protection also applies to the advanced child tax credit. And what they're saying is if you make under a certain income threshold, and I do not remember that off the top of my head, it's low though. I want to say it's like maybe 60,000, maybe. They will not make you repay anything if they gave something to you inadvertently with the child tax credit. But you're saying on the top of the 6419, yeah, that's the advanced child tax credit. Guys, as for the economic impact payment, they haven't said one way or the other how they're treating this, but my guess is just like the other payments, if they accidentally pay you too much, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what guidance they send. But if you remember with the 2020 economic impact payments, if you got too much because maybe you had a dependent that they paid you for that you didn't end up having on your 2020 return, or maybe you claimed a dependent, right? But you switch off with a ex-spouse. They didn't make you repay that. The only time they made you repay it is if you received an economic payment for someone who was deceased as of December 31st, 2020. All right. They haven't said anything that they're changing that for these third economic payments yet. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I'm assuming not, or you'd think they would have already said that. But for the advanced child tax credit, what they're saying, because you guys, with the child tax credit, let me back up real quick. With the advanced child tax credit, they're saying if they overpay you, you have to pay that back when you file your tax return. So an example of this, let's say so remember, these advanced payments were 50% of what they anticipated your 2021 child tax credit would be. All right. So if they're like, okay, they look at your past returns, like, okay, this person's going to qualify for $2,000. We're going to pay out $1,000 of that, 50%, over the 6-month period. But let's say you received those advanced payments, and let's say your kid phased out or, aged out. Let's go back to the example of maybe you alternate with an ex and you don't get to claim your kid in 2021. but you got those prepayments. You are going to have to pay back those advance payments. All right. The other spin to that is, let's say you do some pretty good, tax planning, tax payments, and let's say you are usually pretty close to breaking even though you're getting, part of that break even is you're taking into consideration this child tax credit, right, in prior years. But this year they've prepaid half of it. So what if you end up owing part, this year? That could happen. But circling around to DV and him talking about these protections on repayment, what they're saying is if you make under a certain income threshold and you did receive an advanced child tax credit payment that you shouldn't have, you won't have to pay it, or you could possibly only have to repay part of it, depending on your income limit, on those income limits. And they are low, guys. I want to say, and I don't know the exact number because I took that training a couple weeks ago. Can't remember everything. I take notes. I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say it's something like 60,000. Okay. So if you make more than that, you're going to have to pay back the child tax credit advance if you received it and you shouldn't have. So yes. So let's see. So Wendy, let me go up to yours. Where did it go? So when will the 8915 E or F be ready? That's the 401k withdrawals, tax deferrals for 3 years, this year being your great question. I did not see an exception to that. I have a 2021 forms cheat sheet. Let me pull it up real quick. It's in my Google Drive. All right, forms. Let's see if it's on here. Forms, 2021 forms. So it's not out yet, and I don't see a date. So even on my most recent one, like this most up-to-date answer, I don't see that they have a date on when those will come out. So what she's talking about, everybody else. So in 2020, going way back, in 2020, you were allowed to take penalty-free and tax-free 401k withdrawals for hardship. And the deal was you would not have to pay tax on these or tax or penalties if you repaid it within those 3 years, or you could pay the tax over 3 years. So let's say you took out, there's a limit of 100,000. So let's say in 2020, you took out $100,000 from your 401k. You could opt at that time to either pay the tax all in 2020, or you could have paid a third of it over 3 tax years, 2020, 2021, 2022. And so they are supposed to issue a form 8915 that says how much you need to be taxed on this year. They're not out yet. So isn't that always fun? All right. So sorry, we can't help there. Again, let's see. It's so small. I have a client who received a letter from the state of California. It says he owes $1,600 and $6,000 interest from 1998, 23 years ago. So this is a great question. So normally the statute is 7 years for the IRS, and I believe most states. I'm sure there's some states that deviate from that, but 7 years is how long you should keep all your records, because 7 years is how far they can go back. The exception to that is fraud. If they assume you're breaking the law on purpose, I think that's the one where there's no statute. They can go back as far. So, but this is interesting. So I don't know, Wendy. That's interesting. I would definitely maybe find, I don't know what your niche is or of representing clients, but I don't deal with California. It's California and New York are hard states that have their own set of rules. And so if I ever have a client in either of those states who has a state issue, I farm that out to someone who specializes in that state, because they don't mess around over there. So, all right, let's see. I don't see any more questions at the moment. So guys, if you're here, definitely, if you have any questions, put them in here. Otherwise, let me see what other updates I have. There's, like I said, there's not a lot of updates. Let's see. Talked about that. We talked about that. There's really not a lot to talk about. Let's see. Circling back to the advanced child tax credits, if you made 63, slightly over, let me pull up my notes from the class I took, because I believe, so there's a phase out. Let me see if they're in my Google Drive. Let's see if I was organized enough. And let me move it over here, though, so you're not looking at the side of my neck. Google Drive. Let's see. Then, all right. Okay, here it is. Let me scroll down, because we talked about this. They didn't go into detail. There is a phase out. So this one says your AGI. So it's based on AGI. That's an important thing to know, because some, with the IRS, you guys, sometimes they base on an AGI, sometimes they base on your taxable income. So the advanced child tax credit protection. Let's see. Oh, wait, that's not the protection. Hold on. Let me scroll down. I thought I had it. Payback. Let me do a find, because this document is 30 pages long. Okay, find. Let's see. There was a table here. Let's see. Sorry if you're just watching me look. Okay. At or below. Where's the table? Okay, there it is. Okay, so repayment protection will decrease based on how much your modified AGI is above the following amount. So if your AGI is at these amounts or lower, your repayment protection is full, which is $4,000 in repayment protection. So $2,000 for each excess qualifying child. Okay, so those income amounts are $60,000 if you're married and filing a joint return. Okay, $60,000 if you're married and filing a joint return. So over that, you'll get some, but not all. Okay, $50,000 if you're filing head of household, $40,000 if you're single. All right, and so it's reduced as your modified AGI goes above these amounts. And I don't remember what the full threshold is. I don't have that on this class I took. So, all right. So I hope that answers your question. So 63 means yes, you would receive a portion of it. And my guess is that TurboTax and any of those online tax preparation services are going to have some sort of calculation in there and do that for you. And that's how our tax software is that tax preparers use. It does all the calculations on the back end. You just have to know, okay, here's your, it takes your AGI, it needs to know how much you actually received. And then it tells you, okay, you're protected from this amount. And remember, you guys, that only matters if you got a payment of the CDC that you don't end up qualifying for. Okay. I just want to reiterate that. That protection, if you got, so let's say you qualify for $4,000, you received advance payments of $2,000, right? 50% of what they thought or they calculated you'd qualify for based on the most recent return they had. For most of us, that was 2020. For some of us, that would have been 2019. So they say, okay, we're going to make advance payments of totaling $2,000 over this 6 months. When you go to file your 2020 return, let's say you don't qualify for that full $4,000. For example, maybe it's not your year to claim a kid or both kids. Maybe one of your kids aged out. Those are the two big ones, guys, that are going to screw with this tax. And you end up not qualifying for the full tax credit amount. Then you're going to have to, they're going to subtract it. They're going to say, okay, you only actually qualified for this much, $2,000. And you already got payments of $2,000, right? Because we gave you half. So now you get nothing. You're going to have to pay it back, right? So let's say you got the full, let's say they calculated that you should qualify for $4,000. You have 2 kids. on your 2020 return, right? So they're like, okay, this person's going to qualify for $4,000. We're going to pay out $2,000 because that's 50%. That's what they paid out. You go and file your 2020 return. There are no dependents because you and your ex-spouse actually swap, right? You alternate years. 2021 is not your year. All right, so your advanced credit line is going to say 0. Then right under that, it's going to say how much did you receive in advanced child tax credit payments, which is going to come from that form 6419. You're going to write $2,000, and they're going to be like, cool, you now owe $2,000 back to us. Okay, so that sucks. And then we'll go, and from there, you guys, it will go and look at your AGI, and if you're below that threshold, you'll have some you could have some protection. Okay. Let's see. Anything? Did I miss anything from you guys? All right. Nope, I didn't miss anything. So just a quick recap, you guys. The biggest takeaway from today. Okay, if I want like a couple things. Set up your online IRS account. The link is up at the top. Okay, so that when you do have questions or you are not sure where your refund is, or you're not sure how much you owe, whatever it is, this online tool, they're really pushing it. They're putting a lot of effort into this to avoid the phone. Set that up so it's there and ready for you when you need it. Okay, so that's number one. And the number two takeaway from today is to keep those letters. Okay, for the advanced child tax credit, it's letter 6419. That's going to tell you how much you received in 2021 advanced child tax credit payments. The other is letter 6475, which is going to tell you how much you received in that third economic impact payment or recovery rebate credit, RRC. Okay. You are going to want these exact numbers to file your tax return, because if you are off and your numbers on your tax return do not tie to what the IRS records show, you're going to delay your refund. All right. We want our money back, right? You want your money back. Oops, sorry. All right. So those are the two biggest takeaways. All right. Two biggest takeaways up from today. That and the Build Back Better plan still is not a thing that we are talking about. So, all right, you guys. So I am still trying to figure out how often I'm going to come in here with you guys, being tax season. I can't do weekly. It's not feasible with the workload we have. And, we're training someone new, which is exciting. We're growing. Hopefully we get to the point where, she's able to take stuff on and I can come back here and chat with you guys weekly. But until then, I'm going to tell you, I will see you. I don't know. I will decide that this weekend. We're kind of looking over our schedule. Ideally, I want to be in here at least once a month, maybe every other week. I got to figure that out along with our deadlines. All right. So I will post that in the Money, Tax, and Finance group in our Facebook group, you guys. That event will be created when we pick the next date. And yeah, and like I said, if you're watching this on replay, you guys, make sure you find that next event. And that's where I want you to put your questions, because that's where I'm going to look for it. All right. All right, cool. It is almost 10. I don't see any more questions. And so I'm going to let you guys go. And I hope you guys have wherever you are, I think there's a storm across the whole country. Stay warm, stay safe, and we will chat with you guys later. All right. Bye.